All right, what's going on, gentlemen? Here we are live Wednesday morning. Appreciate you tuning in. And before I forget, Peter, if you're tuning in, watching live, comment hashtag live. If you're tuning in and watching the replay, comment hashtag replay. Drop it in the comments, let the algorithm do its thing, boost those numbers up, all that kind of good stuff. And really, before we get into anything, if you don't know who I am, you're new to the group, welcome aboard. My name is Miles Wold. I own and operate the Winners Mindset Fitness Academy. This is a specific fitness group where working with contractors, we work with contractors, community of contractors who are all working to get in better shape, whether that's, typically losing a lot of body weight, body fat rather, and putting on muscle, having more energy, and ultimately, so they can have more energy for the kids, for the grandkids, and, ultimately be better leaders in their business. Right. So all that kind of good stuff without, sacrificing their favorite foods, without taking time away from the business and the family and all that kind of good stuff. And really what we're going to be talking about today is, considering I know it's a really busy season for a lot of guys right now, right? Especially in the last 2-3 weeks, I've noticed, everyone has doubled or tripled the hours they're working. Going from, maybe things were typically a little slow in the winter and, going from, 20, 30, maybe 40 hours a week, all the way up to 60, 70 hours now, right? And all the clients want their projects done yesterday. The phone is ringing. People are getting in contact with your email. The ads are gaining traction. And ultimately, there's a lot of projects on the books. Maybe you're booked out for another month or two. So that's a really good problem to have. And if you don't know, and again, if you're new to the group, which is totally cool, I used to work in landscaping for about 5 years during the summers and all that kind of stuff between school. And I was busy just as you guys, right? I was doing a lot of sodding and just laying grass, ripping apart the old grass, putting new grass down, patio stones, all that kind of stuff, interlock. So I understand what it's like to be working 60 hours a week, 70 hours a week. I would wake up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, be at the shop for 6, do a little commute with some guys, be at the shop for 6, 5:45, something like that, to have the trucks ready. That would take us maybe 20, 30 minutes, depending on, what was needed. Be on the road by 6:30. 7 o'clock at the latest, leave the shop by 6:30, 7 o'clock, hit the highway, go to the job site. And we were doing residential work. So we would hit maybe, 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 job sites a day, depending on what was needed, the size of those jobs, what was needed to finish up from earlier in the week and all that kind of stuff. So a lot going on, right? A lot going on, and all those big busy days, wouldn't get home 6, 7, 8 o'clock on Fridays, or some days it wouldn't be till 10 o'clock at night. So those were some seriously long days, right? And I totally get it. With all these long days, how do we make time for our workouts, right? Where do we find the time? And whether you're, in the field or in the office or looking to transition in the office, there is time to be found, right? So there's a couple ways we can really approach this, right? The first one is, maybe you need to outsource and delegate some work to some employees, bring some more people on, because you can't do everything, right? It's good to have team members to help do the stuff, that you don't want to do ultimately, and have those people do it better than you could. That's the most important part, having employees do the job better than you could, so they can be a quality team member and have them trained and, appropriate within the culture of the business and all that kind of stuff. Another way we can really go about this is, scheduling your time better. I imagine there are clients who want to get hold of you at all wacky times of the night, right? It could be 8, 9 o'clock and people are calling you. It could be a good opportunity to, I don't know how the sales and marketing you have set up, but perhaps need to get in touch with some kind of calendar system, so people kind of book in on your calendar to get a hold of you, right? It kind of separates those people who are, potentially time wasters versus more serious, right? And that is important to really look into, because they're typically, a homeowner is probably going to get 3, 4, 5 quotes, estimates from other kind of contractors. So making sure that you're the one that kind of sticks out and has that kind of quality conversation with them, kind of guards their time, respects their own time, and then your clients, potential clients, future clients will respect your time as well. And then in terms of, so where I'm going with my mind with this is like, if we guard our time and we have scheduled time when people can get a hold of us, we can actually create time for our workouts. So what I did in landscaping is, there were a couple things. So I would actually say on rain days, the odd rain day, torrential downpour, not just like a little drizzle, but like torrential downpour, lightning, all that kind of stuff. That would be an opportunity to go to the gym, go work out. Now that's not always possible, right? Rain days are touch and go. Maybe it rains a little bit in the morning, clears up in the afternoon, or maybe maybe rain days aren't even worth worrying about for what you're doing, right? They're just not a thing. So what I did instead, there were 2 days, the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, that I knew were in my control ultimately, right? So what I did at the very bare minimum was that I would actually take opportunity of that and do 2 full body workouts. That's it. Go into the gym Saturday, Sunday, do what needs to be done. Maybe takes, 30, 45 minutes. And then at least that way, move the needle forward, right? Like 2 days a week, that is kind of like the bare minimum in terms of progress, in terms of progress and actually seeing results from that. Anything less might not be worth your while, right? So really want to make sure those 2 days, and at the bare minimum, like full body, can get it done. And then in terms of early mornings, like if you have more control over your time, you are, strict with your time, you're able to come into the office a little bit later, you've got a proper team set up, especially if you are in the office and you've got, employees in the field, and can guard your time a little bit more, then it really is about getting in first thing in the morning, whether you want to do this at home or at the gym. Maybe you wake up an hour earlier, go to bed an hour earlier as well, so you can get in, get out 30, 45 minutes every single week, right? And what that would look like for you is, say you want to do it 3 days a week, you can do that full body split. It could be like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right? So at least that way you have a rest day in between, weekends kind of spent with the family, and then you're kind of good from there. So what that would look like in terms of like full body, 30, 45 minutes, compound lifts, your chest, shoulders, arms, back. You want to do some vertical pulling, horizontal pulling. So that would be like your pull-ups, pull-downs, maybe some rows, machine rows, dumbbell bent over rows, all that kind of stuff. And then everything below the waist, right? So your squats, your lunges, your leg press, your leg curl, your calf raises, your leg extension, all are very important to tackle everything below the waist. And you can get this done within, 30, 45 minutes and see great progress that way. So really the sweet spot is 3 to 4 times a week, 30 to 45 minutes per session. And that takes you about maybe 2 to 4 hours a week, right? Really 2 to 4 hours a week to actually get in there, get it done, and see progress long-term, right? And it's not going to be all sunshines and rainbows when you first start, naturally. It's going to take time. It's going to take progress. It's going to take consistency. So it only makes sense to have some kind of plan in place, get started when you are your busiest, look at the season right now. So you have those habits and consistency in place, so that when things cool off or slow down in the winter or whatever that looks like for you, you just continue, right? There's none of this kind of stop and go where, you go hard on the paint during the winter and then, You just don't do anything during the summer when you're busiest, and then you repeat that cycle over and over again. Just like in business, it takes consistency, it takes work, it takes progress, it takes challenging yourself, kind of doing the hard work a little bit over and over again. So again, kind of going back to what I did during landscaping, again, 60, 70, maybe even 80 hours, especially in those peak summer long days where, it gets bright at like 5 a.m. and, the sun doesn't go down until 8:30, 8 o'clock. So those long days, again, if I wasn't able to do it during the week, Monday to Friday, Saturday and Sunday was open for me to get it done 2 full body days a week. And then on rain days, I would use that as an opportunity. But if that's not an issue for you, then it's a matter of, guarding your time better, controlling your time better, making time on your schedule, right? I tell my clients a lot, it's like, okay, like if time's kind of going all over the place, we don't really know where it's going, maybe we need to have a daily planner. Maybe we need to have some kind of calendar system, some kind of tool we can use to bring clarity as to where our time is going, right? Because we could be burning a lot of time driving around, especially if we're doing residential work, doing quotes, doing estimates and all that kind of stuff, which are all super important. But when we guard our time, having some kind of calendar system in place, we're able to kind of qualify the client, right? See if they're a time waster or not, so we can actually spend our valuable time to go and see them, right? Go see if we can actually go and help them at some point. So I think that's about all I have for today. It was really just getting our workouts in, because that's going to move the needle forward in terms of building muscle, right? Having your clothes fit better, really taking notches off the belt, having your t-shirts going from a XXL down to an L, right? And having more energy and focus in the business and work and everything that you do, so you can scale up, right? So you can make more money, so you can perform better, so you can get off the tools in the office and bring on more employees, actually build a proper business instead of just a solo mission, right? And that's what really separates the best from the rest. So it's totally possible, right? It's totally possible to get your workouts in. Your beliefs do become your reality. So if you believe you can get your workouts in, if you believe that you can wake up early to get it done, if you believe that, you want to get it done maybe later in the day, say, if you're getting off early, 4 or 5 o'clock, you want to get it done in the evening. If you believe that, then that will be your reality. But it all starts with believing that you can make a change. So if you want additional help with this in terms of, having a workout plan where you don't have to think about it, you just show up and get the work done, whether it's at home or in the gym, shoot me a message, more than happy to help, and see if it's even possible to put a game plan together for you. So this one's short and sweet. If you have any questions, comments, drop it down below.